Hi, I'm Navdan and in this video I'm gonna talk about GUI design in gamemaker. So without any further ado, let's begin. I have a playlist for GUI design and I want to complete that playlist, okay? In last video, I did show you how you can implement this gem count in your game properly, but it wasn't that properly and easy to read and easy to develop. If you know me, you know that my channel is all about easy to read and easy to develop code, how you can write your code properly. So please watch my videos in that playlist about GUI stuff. I had some cool things in there, I think. Before you forget, please hit that like button, it helps me a lot. Thank you very much. So you remember from last video what we have done, so let me show you again. We did this gem collecting and it will show up in here, okay? So now I want to create a function for this because we want our code to be readable and easy to develop, right? So for that, I'm going to create a script in here. I want to call it scr_GUI. And the first function that I want to create in here is draw gem count, okay? And for the input, I want whoever who want to use this draw gem count to give it an x and y and a value to show, right? So now that we have this function, you know that from before we had this object GUI in here and we write some code in draw GUI. That's all we have done. We just draw this SPR score background and we draw some text above it, okay? So let's just cut all of that and go to our SCR GUI and paste it here. So let's just indent this as well. And in here we have x, y, and the value, okay? So instead of just putting some value in here, I want to give the x, use this x and y in here, okay? So again, here x, here y, and this string, I don't want to use this global value. I want to just use the value that whoever want to use this script put in here, put in this value, okay? So now we can go to our object GUI and in here say draw gem count. And for the x, I want to give 100, 50, and the value that I want to give is global.player data.gem count, okay? Now if again run our game, it should be the same, but our code is no more readable, okay? And whenever we want to change the position of this, we can do it. It will be much easier to do it this way, right? So now I want to show you how you can use this. Let me show you this SPR setting icon, put it on our game, so whenever they hit on it, touch it, or click on it, it will draw a dialog that they can set some options in our game, like mute our game, like we have it in here, or exit our game, or whatever you want to do with that, okay? So first of all, just add a button for this SPR setting button, okay? So you can see that I had this and I put the anchor point at the top right. Why I did this? Because I want to show this button at the top right corner of our game. So no matter what phone they're using, what size their phone has or their computer has, it will be at top right and it will reposition itself to correct position, right? So now that we have this, let's just again go back to our object GUI. And you know that I'm all about easy write code properly to be easy to read and easy to develop. And for that I want to create a state machine for our GUI so it makes our life very much easier in now and in future. So let's just add a create event. And in here I want to create a enum value. I want to call it GUI states. That this GUI states is for our state machine, right? So what I'm gonna do, I wanna add this button in top right corner, and when they hit it, it show a dialog for us. So for now, I want two states. One when that dialog is opened, and one that dialog is closed. Okay, so now we have two states: open GUI and close GUI. Okay, and I want to create a variable for GUI state, and at the beginning, I want to set it to GUI states.close because at the beginning it should be closed, right? No, to this draw GUI. In here, I want to add that switch case that we should have. For adding that switch case, right click in here, you can write it yourself, but this code snippet, it will write it for us, okay? What we want to check in this switch is GUI state, okay? And I don't want this default, I just want this case. And first one that I want to check is GUI states.open, and the next one, let's just copy and paste this and the next one is for close, right? And for every each one of these states, I want to create a function. So over draw GUI in this way, it will be more readable, right? So for this GUI open, I want to create a function, name it open, GUI open function. And let's just copy and paste this here because this one is for GUI close function. Okay, now that we have this, let's just open up our SCR GUI and create those functions. I will just copy this one in here, go to SCR GUI and create a function in this because I want all the function that is for our GUI to be in this script, right? So this one is for GUI open function. Let's just go back to our object GUI and let's just close everything so it will be more clear. Again, obj GUI, we create this one and let's just create this one as well. Function, GUI close function. Now we have the function for our states, right? First, I'm gonna write GUI close function. First thing to do, we should just draw this SPR button, right? We put the anchor point at top right, and now we can just draw it in here. We can say draw sprite. The sprite that we wanna draw is SPR setting. The subimage I want it to be 0 because it just have one subimage. The X and Y. For the X, because we want to put it at the right, top right side of our game, we get the display get GUI width, okay? And for the Y, let's just put 0 in here. So what does it mean? It means that it will find the display GUI width that is in here and the Y is 0. That display GUI width and Y of 0 will be this point, okay? So now that we have this, let's just run our game to see what will happen. And you can see our button is now here, but it's too close to border, right? So what we can do about that? For that, I want to create a variable in here and I want to call it margin because we want to position our button a little bit down and to the left, right? So I will create a variable in here and give it a 25 in here, okay? And of course we will change this. It's just for showing you what we are doing, okay? At the end of this video I will delete this and we create a function for that as well, okay? So in here what I'm gonna do, I want to decrease display get GUI width by our margin, okay? And for this I want to give it for the Y value. For the Y value I want to give the margin value as well. So what will happen now if you run it, and you can see there is a margin in here and it looks cool. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you how you can get the click event on this sprite or button in here. You know, doing this it's a little bit confusing, but I take my time to explain to you as clear as it possible. It doesn't have complicated math, but it's a little bit frustrating to do this. Just bear with me, I will explain to you everything. First of all, in here, in this GUI close function, after we draw our sprite at the right location, what I want to check is if mouse check button pressed is pressed or not, okay? So whenever it's pressed, I want to check if they are pressing at this button or not. So for that, we want to check MB left, okay? Mouse left. So in here, show debug message, click, for example. So whenever and wherever they click, there will be a log in here that says clicked, okay? So you can see it. And let's just delete this. The function that I want to use is in here. I want to check if the position that the mouse is pressed is at our button or not. So I want to use point in rectangle. Of course you can use circle as well, but you can use this point in rectangle in most cases. So this point in circle will be easier to do, but I want to show you the point in rectangle, right? So with this we check if the mouse where it's clicking is at this rectangle or not. So what is that rectangle is, let me show you. Let's just comment this and run our game. The rectangle that we want to check if the mouse click on this button, and around this button we check for a rectangle, okay? So it's like we draw a rectangle in here and we check if when the mouse is clicking, the position of the mouse is inside that rectangle or not. And that's all this point in rectangle is, but there is a catch to it. Let's just open the documentation for it. And in here, what is important is that this x1 is the x coordinate of the left side of the rectangular to check, okay? So it is the left side. Just remember this, it is the left side. You should remember that this x1 should be the x1 at the left location. If you want to check your rectangular from top right corner to bottom left corner and you give x1 the x of the top right corner, it won't work. So you should remember that the x1 is the x of left side, the y1 is the y of the top side, the x2 is the x of right side, and y2 is the y of bottom side. Okay, so for this point in rectangular to work, you should start from left to right. We can do x1, x2, y1, y2 in here, but it will be a headache to write and it will be more headache to read. Okay, so for that, in here I want to create some variable and put those variable in x1, x2, y1, y2, and we can just pass it to this point in a rectangle. Okay, so let's just create a variable for x1. Okay, and you remember x1 is the x of the left side. Okay, so what is the left side? I want to write some comment in here like this, and I want to say that this is left side. Okay, and I want to do it for all of them. So x2 is right side. Okay, and let's just copy and paste this for changing, for adding y1 and y2. y1, you remember that the y1 is top side, so let's just give it a comment so we know what we are dealing with. So the left side, first one that I want to do is the right side. Why? Because it's easier and we have the values in here. Let's give it a 0 for all of them, or no, and make this comment. Okay, so run our game. I want to show you something. Yeah, now you can see that this display get GUI width minus margin for the x and the margin for the y is exactly this point, right? It's exactly this point. And we can, for example, just draw a circle in here. It's just for debugging. I want to show you where is that point. Okay, so let's just fast draw a circle in here and give this x and y to this circle. I just copy and paste it. Give a 5 for radius in here and outline to false. Okay, so now if we run our game, you can see there is a circle in here. So top right corner is this side. Okay, so we want to check from here to here and create a rectangular from here to check if this button is pressed or not. Okay, so now you know that x on the right side, so let's cut it, and this is the right side. Okay, x2 is right side, and we know it from document. X2 is the right side. Now we have right side. So what is this margin? Okay, so the margin is that top side. You remember that circle that we draw is at the top right, so the y1 is the right side. So let's just cut this and put it instead of this. Okay, so let's just delete this draw circle. Now you can see we have x2 and y1. You can see that you can't use this x and y where you draw your sprite to x1 and y1. It's for x2 y1. That's how it's worked. Sorry about that. It's as best as I can explain it. It's frustrating to do GUI stuff in gamemaker. They are working on a system to make this stuff easier. I did create GUI in Android Studio, in Visual Studio, in Aria Engine, in Unity, and in all of that, it's easier thing to do. But in gamemaker, it's hardest thing to do. Just bear with me, I'm taking my time to explain to you what all of these are. If GameMaker developers seeing this, please change this x1, y1, x2, y2 to, for example, x right, y top, x right, to something like that. So most of us don't read this stuff because we assume that this is doing what we want, so it should work, right? But it doesn't, because the x1 is the left side and y1 is the top side. So we should always use x1 and y1 to be top left corner, and the x2, y2 should be bottom right corner. So just remember that, it's important. So now we want a left bottom. So let me run our game again. So we want this left bottom at this point. So let's just find that. I want to use draw circle again to find that left bottom. It's just for showing you. Okay, so because we want to find left bottom side, what we can use this value because it's top right corner of our sprite. Okay, for the x minus sprite get width. Okay, the sprite that we want to get rid of that is spr setting button. Okay, so this is for x of the left bottom of our button, right? And for the y, you know that the top right corner, the y of top right corner is margin. So if we add a height to this margin, it will be y of bottom of this sprite. Okay, so we can say sprite get height. Of course, we could use width for both of them if it is a square, right? So the sprite that we want to get height of that is spr setting button. Okay, so now we have this x and y. The radius I want to be 5 and the outline false. So now let's just run this to see if the circle is at the right location. So you can see that our circle is drawing at the bottom left corner. So it's at the right location. What we have done is first we know the top right corner, okay? And for the x of that, we minus x of top right corner by sprite width, okay? So the x is here. And for the y, we knew the y of top right corner of our sprite, and we set by height of this button, this sprite, and we get this value. So know that we have these x and y, so let's just put them there. So this display get GUI width minus margin minus this sprite get width is our x1. So let's just put it in here. And this margin plus this get height of this sprite is our y2. Okay, so now we can delete this draw circle. Okay, now we have this x1, x2, y1, y2. Let's just uncomment this. And first input of this point in a rectangle is the point that we want to check, the x of the point that we want to check. So for that, we say device mouse x to GUI 0, and for point y that we want to check, again we say device mouse y to GUI device number 0, and no x1 y1, we can just no put x1 y1 x2 and y2 in here, and everything should work, right? So whenever this is checked and this point is at this rectangle, let's just show a debug message to see if it's working or not. And I want to say clicked. Okay, so now let's just run our game to see if it's working or not. New game, and whenever we click on here, it will show clicked. So now we have this button clickable, and with that we can change our GUI state. Okay, so we can say GUI state is equal GUI states dot open. So whenever they click on this button, our GUI or that dialog should be open. So let's just go now to our GUI open function that is in here. So like all of my video, first of all we set our sprite. In this case we should say draw sprite, right? The sprite that I want to use is, let me show you. I just want to show this sprite, okay? And we want to draw it at the center of our game. So for the sprite, we want to use this SPR menu PG, and stop image is 0. The X and Y, I want to get the display GUI width divided by 2, so it will be at the middle, and display GUI height for the Y divided by 2 again, so it will be at the middle. Okay, so now everything is okay. So now let's just run our game to see if our dialog is opening or not. So whenever we click in here, this dialog will be open, and they can buy stuff, they can we can use it for inventory or whatever. Okay, so now that we have this, I want to create a function for this so it won't be this messy. So let's just create a function at top. I want to call this function draw setting button. Okay, and the only input that I want to put in here is the margin. Okay, so now with this margin we can just delete this margin from here, and now that we have this, let's just cut all of this and put it on this function. So no margin is okay, everything is readable. We know that all the draw gem count is in here, and all draw setting button is in here, and now in here we can just say draw setting button, and the margin in this case 25, and with that we can always change this margin. So let's just run our game again, and you can see it will work. Okay, so if we change the margin in here, of course we could separate the margin from X and Y, for example margin X, margin Y, and use them, but in this case I just want to use this for simplicity. You get the idea how you can do that. So now that we set 15 here, let's just run our game, and you can see the margin is 15 from top and right. And when we collect gem, you can see that it show it up here. Now everything is working, and you can see that everything is readable. Whew. It's frustrating to do GUI, but I decided to add all of this stuff and all of this stuff to our platformer game that we have, and I wanted to show you how you can do it properly to be more readable. Of course, we can do a lot of stuff with this state machine and with this GUI, and I will show you in future videos in playlist of GUI design in gamemaker. Please watch my playlist of that. We use animation for this GUI, and we will use timelines for that, we will use sequence for that to make it more smooth and more beautiful. Please, if you like this kind of stuff and if you want to help me, hit that like button. It's very important to me. Not just YouTube will suggest my video to others, but with that I know that you liked my video, so I will create more of this stuff. It's my honor to have you at the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.